Well, this is Lauren Burke, and it was a huge day today with the No Kings rally. Um, I was in I was at the Washington D.C. one, which was packed. I mean, absolutely packed with people. We have some pretty big rallies in the D.C. metropolitan area. Usually, everybody comes in from Virginia and Maryland to join the D.C. rally because that would be the main one in the area, and it was in fact huge. It was huge. I think Bernie Sanders was the last speaker in DC. But for this show, I want to do like sort of a round robin of some of the speakers in some of the other cities and locations because it is interesting to see who participated, where they participated. Atlanta was pretty huge. San Francisco actually just ended only like 2 hours ago. Um, and it was massive, and you can tell it got under the skin of Team Trump because once they start sending out stuff on Twitter, it's always amusing. You know that somebody is living rent free in their head. It's either Joe Biden or all of these millions of people today that marched against this administration, one or the other. And they're not the types of people who should play poker.
Up. It is so important.
I'm going to start from the beginning here with Raphael Warnock, senator from
I'm
Georgia.
coming to you, brother. I promise. No. We are always able.
No fascist dictators, no kings, no traitors, one more time, no kings, no traitors, no fascist dictators.
Well,
Yeah.
of course, this is earlier in Atlanta, one of the bigger rallies in the country. You can see Chicago, Boston, Atlanta were huge. Obviously, New York and obviously Washington, D.C. So, anyway, back to Raphael Warnock.
That is our covenant. That is our creed. Say it with me. We the people. Come on, say we the people. We the people. Say no kings. No kings. No kings in America. We the people. Thank you all so much for being here in this moral moment in America. In these defining days of our democracy. This is what democracy looks like. It is so important for you to be here, and I don't mind the protests. I don't mind them at all because this is what democracy looks like. And we are here today to ensure that we are always able to stand up and make sure our voices are heard. Are you ready to make sure your voices are heard in this moral moment? And so I heard y'all were having a rally. And I had to drop by. I am much encouraged, and I've got great hope because of the massive turnout that we are seeing all across our country in 50 states, in 2,700 cities, in red states and blue states. The people united shall never be defeated. But it is especially heartening and significant that we gather in Atlanta, Georgia, the hometown of a great American, Martin Luther King Jr. I'm proud to serve not only as your senator, but as the pastor of Dr. King's church, Ebenezer Baptist Church. And Dr. King said, we will have to repent in this generation, not only for the violent actions and vitriolic words of the bad people, but because of the appalling silence and indifference of the good people. Are you ready to raise your voice? And so it's so important in this moment that we stand up. It is so important that we make sure our voices are heard. I'm coming to you, brother. I promise you I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. Give me a moment. I'm coming for you. I promise. I promise you I will. Because I'm on your side. I agree with the humanity of all people. I agree with the humanity of Palestinians, of Israelis, of children on all sides of the track, of Ukrainian children, red, yellow, brown, black, or white, young and old, rich or poor, gay or straight, because we are all God's children and we're standing up on this moment. I'm deeply concerned about what's happening in our country. I heard an American president stand up the other day and say to generals in our military that we've got to stand up, he said, against the enemy within. Listen to me. I don't care what your politics are today. I mean that. If you are an American citizen, you should be deeply concerned. And I know you are. That's why you're gathered here today. We should all be deeply concerned about an American president who stood in front of our military and said that the real concern is the enemy within. They are trying to divide us so that they might rule us. But we join united with one voice, Democrats and Republicans, red, yellow, brown, black, and white, and saying together, no kings in America. Are you ready to fight for our American nation? And so what we're witnessing right now, this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the separation of families. We're witnessing awful actions by ICE agents who are masked, showing up in communities all across our country. Imagine this, agents of the government flying in Black Hawk helicopters into Chicago, rappelling down an apartment building in the middle of an American city, literally separating black people from brown people. I'm a preacher, but I have to say this. What the hell? Is happening? And all of us have to be concerned, because this is what Martin Niemöller, a pastor who lived during Hitler's Third Reich, he said, first, they came for the trade unionists and I did not speak because I was not a trade unionist. They came for the socialists and I did not speak because I was not a socialist. They came for the Jews and I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me and there was nobody left to speak up. When we speak up for our neighbors, we speak up for ourselves. When I stand up for your family, I stand up for my family. When I stand up for your children, I stand up for my own children. And that's why I'm standing up in this moment, and I'm saying as a United States Senator that you must restore the tax credits of the ACA, because all of God's children deserve health care.
Well, let's stop the video for 1 second here. As it turns out, the New York Times just came out with a story in like the last hour, maybe, not that long ago, where they are now, we're finding out what the ACA tax credit situation is. Of course, the entire government shut down. The federal government is shut down, and it has been since midnight on the 31st, or really the morning of October 1st. So it's been shut down for 18 days. At any rate, the entire fight is about healthcare credits, the tax credits that would, of course, help people afford their healthcare. Well, of course, as it turns out, the insurance companies are starting to announce what the rate increases are. And in 12 states, they have announced that. Maybe a little bit later on, I will go over that story in the New York Times, which of course should frighten everybody, because it is going to be a major increase in healthcare costs, no doubt. Back to Raphael Warnock.
Atlanta, you have my promise. I'm going to stand up on this issue, because Atlanta is the city of the CDC, and I want to thank our CDC workers for fighting for us, for standing up for us, for keeping us healthy. CDC is not the enemy. CDC is not a hazard to our health. Robert F. Kennedy is a hazard to the health of the American people, and he's got to go. And so let's stand up in this moment. I know that it is painful. I don't take any of my votes lightly. We need to reopen the government and extend health care. We don't have to do one or the other. We can do both at the same time because we're America. And so isn't it interesting that the folks who have taken health care from 15 million Americans, the folks who are raising your health care premiums, have you opened up the portal to see that your health care premiums are doubling, tripling, quadrupling in order to give a tax cut to billionaires?
Once again, the healthcare premium announcement is expected on November 1st, but of course, it's almost November 1st. So a lot of the healthcare companies are starting to pre-announce and sort of get everyone ready for what is expected to be a massive across-the-board increase for most people who are on the Affordable Care Act. And that is going to be a major issue coming up.
And now the same folk who are taking your doctors away are now trying to doctor the match by engaging in gerrymandering, by trying to squeeze your voices out of the democracy. There's a word for that. It's called fascism. And so in this moment, let me say to you, do not give in to those who are trying to weaponize despair. They are trying to convince you that they have already won. And if they convince you that they have already won, then you lose your fight. But you must never lose your fight. You must never lose your courage. You must never give up your voice, because your voice is your human dignity, and your human dignity is connected to your destiny, and our destiny as an American people. And so I'm going to fight for your health care, because the health of our democracy is tied to the health of your families. Long before I came to the Senate, I came to the United States Capitol not as a senator, but as an activist pastor leading Ebenezer Baptist Church, because I remembered as Republicans were trying to cut health care, remember in 2017, I remember Dr. King's words that of all the injustices, inequality in health care is the most shocking and the most inhumane. And so I showed up in the Capitol long before I represented you as a senator, fighting for your health care. And I said in 2017 to our elected representatives that a budget is more than a fiscal document. A budget is a moral document. Show me your budget, and I'll show you who you think matters and who does not. I said in 2017 that if this budget, which would cut the people's health care in order to give billionaires a tax cut, if this budget were an EKG, it would suggest that our elected representatives have a heart problem and are in need of moral surgery. And so I showed up in 2017 to perform moral surgery on those who allegedly represented us, but were trying to take our health care. I'm saying to you that when you show up on a Saturday morning like this, let me tell you what you're doing. You are the moral surgeons in America who are trying to heal our country. Heal us of the divisions. Heal us from the hate. Heal us from the bigotry. Heal us from the short-sighted, craven politicians who would literally hear 30 and 40-year-olds on a group chat using all kinds of ugly and racist and anti-Semitic words and have the audacity to say kids will be kids. That's not my America. And so let's send a clear message to Washington. I'm done. As I close, and nobody believes a Baptist preacher when he says as I close. Everywhere I go, people are literally grabbing on me and they're saying, keep fighting for us, please fight for us. They're saying, keep standing up. They look at the preacher and they say, give them hell. Keep fighting for us. Well, you have my promise. I'm going to keep fighting for Georgia. I'm going to keep fighting for all of our children. I'm going to keep fighting for what Dr. King called the beloved community. However, let me say this to you. While I will continue to fight, I can't really fight for you. You cannot outsource democracy to anybody. You cannot outsource citizenship. It takes all of us. That's why they're trying to divide us, because when all of us stand together and raise our voices, we win. Are you ready to win?
That's an interesting moment right there, because, you know, if you ever listen to a lot of these town halls that members of Congress have, members of Congress are always asked at every single town hall, what do you do? What do you want us to do? What action do you want us to take? And the answers are few and far between, because the fact of the matter is that the left right now is completely out of power. The right, the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans control the White House, the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate, and the Supreme Court. So it's a very difficult moment for leadership for the Democratic Party, because they don't really know what to tell their constituents. He is saying there that everybody has to participate, but participate in what is always the question.
Are you ready to hold on to the best in the American covenant and the American spirit? Are you ready to fight for health care? Are you ready to fight for workers? Are you ready to stand up for women? Are you ready to stand up for reproductive rights? Are you ready to stand up for voting rights? Are you ready to stand up for human dignity? We'll stand up every single day. Do it for all of our children. Do it for all of our grandchildren. And together we will win. God bless all of you. Keep the faith and keep looking up.
And of course, that was Senator Raphael Warnock at, of course, the Atlanta No Kings rally today. One, of course, the bigger ones in the country. There is a lot of reporting and a lot of stuff on social media saying this is one of the biggest rallies in history. You know, it's always hard to know that or gauge that other than with photography. And you can see in Boston, you can see in a few places, Boston, New York, Washington. I haven't seen the photos from San Francisco yet, but there's no reason that would be any fewer. And of course, Chicago. And you can tell this has gotten under the skin of the administration, because it's starting to tweet dumb stuff, which is usually what they do when they get ticked off. Now listen to Stacey Abrams for a second. This should be actually kind of interesting. Stacey Abrams Group, the New Georgia Project, just shut down. I think it was yesterday that was announced, and I'm not sure that that was a complete shock to everybody, but the left is having some trouble with regard to leadership and what's next and what the answers are. People are trying to come up with answers. So, at any rate, this is Stacey Abrams.
No kings! No kings! No kings! It is an honor to be here with you today. My question is, who's left in Atlanta if they're not here? But to the folks who are gathering in Athens and in Savannah, who are gathering in Kansas and in Ohio, who are gathering in Mississippi and in New York, we are in this together. I was recently listening to a podcast, and the commentator, Joshua Doss, said something that stuck with me. He said, it used to be that we were all headed to the same destination, we just had different routes. We all believed in the theory of democracy and what democracy could deliver, but we had some philosophical differences about how we were going to get there. Back when we had maps and not GPS, we were plodding along an atlas trying to figure out what was the best way to get there. But where we stand today, we're no longer fighting about the route. We're fighting about the destination. You see, on one side, you've got some proto-fascists who believe that where they should be is not where the rest of us are. You see, the route they want to take and versus the route we want to take, we've always believed that the route that we should take, the route we should take to get to success is democracy. That if we are all moving together, we may move at a different pace. We may have a different reason. We may have a different way to get there. But the route we were going to take was democracy. We were going to use a pluralistic democracy, a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-gender, multi-identity, multi-religious. We were going to have a democracy that looked like all of us. That was our route. But on the other side, they decided that the route they wanted to take was not democracy, but authoritarianism. What they want to do is they want to tell us that only some of us are going to get to be there. That they want to take our rights and our liberties. They want to deny our identities and our opportunities. That they want to aggregate their power and steal ours. They want to take the route of autocracy. But what I'm more concerned about is the destination. You see, the destination I have in mind, the destination this nation was built on, was a nation that sees all and serves all and stands for all. That's the destination. And yet we are living in a moment where ethno-fascists are in charge of the government, when Christian nationalists are making economic policy, when we have a secret police telling us who we are. Their destination is division. Their destination is destruction. And their destination is denied. We will not go back, and we will not let them turn us around. But the way we get there matters, and why we get there matters. I spent the last few months talking about the 10 steps. I know you had Becky Pringle up here. She gave you 7. I'm going to do 10 because I'm an overachiever. There are 10 steps to autocracy. There are 10 steps to authoritarianism. And
now, Stacey Abrams is pushing, she has been doing a lot of social media education on the steps to autocracy, and I guess she's about to run them down right now. Again, this is not live. Of course, this is earlier in Atlanta at the ridiculously large Atlanta No Kings rally. And this right here is a little bit of a education she's about to give that she's really focused on right now.
We've got to recognize them if we want to fight them. It starts with an election, the last free and somewhat fair election that we're going to have. When once they win that election, the person who becomes the executive, the man who takes the power, because it's always a man, that man who takes the power decides he's going to expand it as much as he can, that he's going to ignore the Constitution and the rules and norms and morals and beliefs, that he's going to do what he can to take what he wants, but he's not doing it by himself. You see, step 3 is that he's got to weaken the other powers. You've got a complicit Republican Congress that has said that we are willing to give away our power so we can have proximity to his. You've got a Congress that has said that they refuse to do their jobs because they're afraid somebody might make them do their jobs. And then you've got a judiciary that has become complicit, that is issuing secret decisions, refusing to write their names as they rewrite the story of America. But then you get to step 4. Step 4 is when they weaken competing powers and expanded executive powers. What they do next is they break government so it doesn't work for anybody. The government shutdown is not an accident. They don't want it to work. Because you can't have a dictator if the people believe that the other folks are going to take care of them. And so what you do is you break government so Social Security doesn't get to the people they need it. You break government so that people stop believing that if we stand together and work together and invest in each other, that government can work. You break it because we want people to think that democracy can't deliver. And then you get to step 5 when you would start to install loyalists. You put a podcaster in charge of the FBI. You put a commentator in charge of the Department of Defense. You put a snake oil salesman in charge of Health and Human Services.
Wow.
The person you put in charge of Homeland Security only knows security when she shoots her dog.
Wow.
You replace people who know what to do with people who only know what power looks like. And then you get to step 6. You start to attack the media and you attack the truth. Because it's hard to unite when we don't have a shared reality. And so you see Jimmy Kimmel losing his job and Karen Attiah losing her job. But you also see PBS and NPR losing their funding because they don't want us to know what we know. They can tell a lie 1,000 times and make it sound like the truth. And they take over CBS and they take over NBC and they take over ABC and they take over TikTok because they don't want us to know the truth because propaganda sounds better. Then you get to step 7. And step 7 is the most dangerous step because then you got to blame someone for the government you've broken, for the people you've hurt. And so you accuse transgender people of causing inflation. You say that immigrants are a scourge on our nation. You blame black pilots for having success. You go after the disabled and you go after the vulnerable. You go after DEI, not because you care about the letters, but because you despise the mission. Diversity means all people. Equity means fair access to opportunity. Inclusion means respect for belonging. They're not mad about the letters. They're mad about the mission.
Wow.
They're mad because they know that DEI is in our DNA. This is a nation built on DEI. This is a country that came into being saying that we are going to do better than our forebears so we can do better by our children. DEI is who we are, and that's why they go after it day after day, time after time, because you can't have a pluralistic democracy if you get rid of the plurals. Then you get to step 8, just in case folks like the ACLU try to sue and protect us, just in case labor unions unite to protect us, just in case universities try to teach us, just in case protesters try to show up and remind us of who we are. They go after step 8. They try to break civil society because they're preparing us for step 9. And step 9 is when they start to normalize violence. You see, I believe in the nonviolent revolution. Because it works. It is the only thing that has ever truly consistently worked. But instead of that, what they want us to do is believe that we're in danger if we speak up, that we're in danger if we aggregate, that if we assemble like the First Amendment tells us we can, that there's a problem. And so we have a paramilitary called ICE that's breaking into houses and arresting people, kidnapping folks off the streets. We have the National Guard occupying our country, occupying our cities. We have a military occupation of Washington, D.C. And if we heard that on the news anywhere else, we would be up in arms. And yet here in America, we're supposed to just take it as normal. We're supposed to believe that it's okay that we have the military invasion of Portland and Chicago, of Memphis, and of L.A. We're supposed to believe that it's normal to have a secret mass police roaming the streets of America. That's not normal. That's intentional. Because what they want us to do is to not notice that they've gotten to step 10. And the step 10 is when we end democracy for everyone. That's why Texas is redrawing its maps. That's why Missouri redrew its maps. That's why Georgia purged 400,000 people from its rolls. That's why they're trying to gut the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, because they want to break democracy forever. We're going to have elections. Russia has elections. Turkey has elections. Venezuela has elections. But if they already know who's going to win, what's the point of showing up? Their destination is to take our country from us. And if there are 10 steps to autocracy and 10 steps to authoritarianism, Atlanta, I'm here to tell you there are 10 steps to freedom and power. That's what we're here for. There are 10 steps to freedom and to power, to health care for all. There are 10 steps to protecting our patriots. There are 10 steps to protecting our democracy. There are 10 steps to protecting our right to control our bodies and control our futures and control our minds. We've got to commit, say commit. We've got to share, say share. We have got to organize, say organize. We've got to mobilize, say mobilize. We've got to litigate, say litigate. We have got to disrupt, say disrupt. We have got to deny them the ability to take our language, say deny. We have got to engage, say engage. We have got to elect, say elect. And when we get those 9 steps done, we are going to demand the nation we deserve. Say demand. Say demand. Say demand. We demand our freedom. We demand our power. We demand our freedom. We demand our power. We demand our freedom. We demand our power. We've got 10 steps to get there, 10 steps to get where we need to be. And it's going to take every one of us walking those steps together. We don't all have to do the same thing, but we've all got to do something. And if we take these 10 steps, if we do this work, then we will claim the destination of pluralism. We will claim the destination of democracy. And we will claim the destination of justice. And we will show them who we are. Thank you so much.
Woo. Well, that was quite something. I totally had missed that earlier because I was out walking around in Washington, D.C., but that was a hot speech there by Stacey Abrams, really going over the state of play. Again, you don't hear a lot of specificity about what it is that people are telling other people to do, but certainly going out into the streets and protesting is a very big deal, particularly when everyone is now reporting that the No Kings protest today is one of the largest, if not the largest, in U.S. history, which that would be incredible if it was the largest in U.S. history. When we think about the largest protest in U.S. history, a lot of people think about the Vietnam War, I think appropriately. And it's hard to imagine protests larger than those, but it's possible. You know, it's possible that that could have happened today. And that is the preliminary reporting, at least, that this was one of the largest protests held in American history. I'm trying to find the mayor of Chicago, who is quite something, has come under a lot of criticism, but Brandon Johnson in this moment is really, I think, sort of recovering his image in a lot of ways, because people are seeing him as an extremely strong leader with regard to going up against Donald Trump. Who would have ever guessed that that would have been the case? But here he is. And sometimes people just meet the moment, really, and sometimes they don't. But he sure as heck is. He's been having some pretty hot press conferences, and he is somebody that I don't think anybody would have equated with the sort of leader of the opposition. But in fact, he is becoming one of the leaders of the opposition, right up there with Gavin Newsom, right up there with Governor Pritzker, and so many others. But Brandon Johnson, apparently, again, this is another speech I didn't see because I was walking around in Washington, D.C., but this, of course, is Chicago, and massive, massive rally in Chicago. And here's the mayor of Chicago, Brandon.
Well, are you all ready to defend this democracy? Are you ready to fight fascism? Are you prepared to destroy authoritarianism once and for all? Well, let the world hear you. No kings. Now listen, there are those in this country that have decided, after the behest of this president, to declare war on Chicago and American cities across this country. They have clearly decided that they want a rematch of the Civil War. But we are here to stand firm, to stand committed, that we will not bend, we will not bow, we will not cower, we will not submit to the authoritarianism that is coming down. I want to make this point emphatically clear, that the attempt to divide and conquer this nation will not prevail, because when the people are united, justice always prevails. Donald Trump is using ICE as his private, militarized, occupying force. The only other entities that are funded greater than ICE are the United States military and China's military. But we are saying emphatically clear, we do not want troops in our city. We will not allow our cities to be occupied. Now here's the last and final point. We have to be absolutely clear of not just what we're fighting for, but what we are looking to tear down. Donald Trump just shifted the largest concentration of upward wealth into the hands of the ultra-rich and large corporations in the history of this country. This is a fight for working people across this country and across this globe to stand up to billionaires in the interests of corporations. Now, there are some billionaires and corporate leaders that want us to have sympathy for them, and they have just received the greatest tax cuts at the expense of health care and housing and education and transportation and good-paying jobs. So here's what we need to do in this moment. If my ancestors as slaves can lead the greatest general strike in the history of this country, taking it to the ultra-rich and big corporations, we can do the same today. I'm calling on black people, white people, brown people, Asian people, immigrants, gay people from around this country to stand up against tyranny and to send a clear message to the ultra-rich and big corporations. We are going to make them pay their fair share in taxes to fund our schools, to fund jobs, to fund health care, to fund transportation. Democracy will live on because of this generation. Are you ready to take it to the courts and to the streets? Cities around the world, we are declaring that we will defend our democracy. We will defend our humanity. We will tear down tyranny, and we will do it together. God bless you all. God bless the greatest city in the world, the city of Chicago.
Woo! Well, that was the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. Once again, you can kind of see when you glance at the clips on social media that something is up with somebody, because, you know, I had seen certain clips of Brandon Johnson without seeing the entire speech, and now I can see why. You know, he is definitely capturing a lot of what people are thinking about in the moment, and it is really interesting to see how he has been able to kind of get out in front. Actually, I think sometimes the governor. Speaking of the governor, this is Governor J.B. Pritzker, who's a pretty damn good blackjack player, apparently. It's amazing. I got no criticism because I would lose a ton of money if I was sitting at some casino. But apparently, JB knows how to play. He knows how to play some blackjack. Amazing, amazing stuff. At any rate, so yeah, Brandon Johnson and JB Pritzker have really been at the forefront of really opposing and resisting the Trump administration. Obviously, the Trump sending troops into Chicago, they would, be forced in that position. And Trump, of course, is targeting all Democrats, and in a lot of cases, I would say, with the exception of Portland, all black mayors. The cities of black mayors has been targeted by Donald Trump. So there's two things going on. He's actually defunding a lot of these cities, and he's targeting them with the National Guard and with the military. Constitution apparently doesn't matter to Donald Trump or anybody in his White House. They're clearly too afraid to say anything, as are all the Republican members of Congress. It is an extremely embarrassing thing that no one can bring up that it's problematic to have the military marching in cities. This is the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, earlier today in Chicago.
Hello, Chicago! We are here today to defend a principle that has defined America since its founding. The belief that tyranny in any form must be resisted by the people of conscience. Especially here in Chicago, we will never surrender. Throughout history, we've learned that tyranny doesn't arrive with dramatic proclamations. Most times it comes quietly, wrapped in the language of law and order, with fingers pointed at someone who doesn't look like you, promising safety while demanding that we sacrifice our neighbors. Today, we're here to say with one voice that there is an existential threat to our constitutional republic. This is not a political choice. This is a moral imperative. The reality here in Chicago is this. Black and brown people are being rounded up because of the color of their skin.
Well, that'll probably come back in a second. If it doesn't, let me see if I can move it. Yeah, here it comes. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. They're probably going to figure out a way to put that back in. This was earlier. This is not live.
That Trump can build a massive enforcement apparatus with no constitutional limits, well, then we erode the foundations that protect all of us. Chicago, is that okay with you? History teaches us that powers granted in the name of security are rarely relinquished. The precedents that we set today become the justifications for tomorrow's abuses. When we allow tyrannical policies against any group, we make tyranny possible against every group. Chicago, is that okay with you? We are here today at this rally because Donald Trump and Stephen Miller are already coming for the immigrants and for black and brown people and for LGBTQ people and for their political opponents. The famous Martin Niemöller poem, First They Came, concludes with the words, "Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." What Trump didn't count on is Chicago coming together to stand up for freedom and individual rights, for American values, because we love America. Trump and Stephen Miller tried to stop us from rallying today by calling us names. Do we care if they call us names?
And they're threatening still to bring military troops into Chicago, claiming there's an insurrection here. Is this an insurrection? It's because peaceful democratic resistance is always scary to authoritarians. And Chicago is known for our peaceful resistance, for labor rights, and for civil rights. Going all the way back to the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act, requiring cities like ours to capture and return black people fleeing slavery, the city council said no. The people of Chicago said no. Communities of everyday Americans banded together to protect those who had fled slavery, hoping to find freedom in Chicago, because we in Chicago are not afraid to stand up for fundamental American values. Now, the vast majority of Chicagoans are here because our ancestors fought to escape from tyranny. And another great portion of Chicagoans were brought to this country in shackles and had to fight for their literal freedom. Resistance and survival are in our American blood. Today, we are resisting more than just Donald Trump's attacks on democracy, and he knows it. Trump is panicking about the growing public backlash to his broader agenda. His tariff taxes are costing average American families between $2,400 and $4,800 per year. Illinois soybean farmers are losing billions and going bankrupt because of Trump's trade war. And so are small businesses. And he defunded programs to reduce crime and is canceling food assistance and medical care for the middle class and working class and our most vulnerable. People are here today standing up for our constitutional rights and our economic freedom. And that is what resistance looks like. And you know, resistance starts with refusing to normalize cruelty. Resistance means choosing solidarity over fear. It means recognizing that an attack on free speech, on immigrants' rights, on due process is an attack on everyone's rights. It means understanding that we're either building a society based on human dignity or one based on domination. Which is it? Human dignity. History will judge us by where we choose to stand right now, today. Future generations will ask, what did we do when fellow human beings faced persecution, when our rights were being abridged, when our Constitution was under attack? They'll want to know whether we stood up or we stayed silent, whether we chose compassion.
Medic.
They're having a moment here where they're going to call a medic.
We need a medic over here.
Which happens a lot at these events. People, you know, it's just like in the crush of the crowd, people pass out.
Looking out for each other. Folks, tyranny requires your fear, your silence, and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage. And tyranny depends on good people doing nothing. It requires us to accept the unacceptable, to rationalize the irrational, to normalize the abnormal. But tyranny also fails when ordinary people refuse to cooperate, when they say no kings and they mean it. So Donald Trump, stay the hell out of Chicago. The fight against tyranny isn't won or lost in one protest. It's won in countless daily decisions to stand for justice, to refuse cruelty, to defend human dignity. It's won when we recognize that none of us are free until all of us are free. So say it with me. We love America. We love Chicago. And Donald Trump, stay the hell out of our city. Thank you very much.
Let's give it up.
Unbreakable commitment to protecting every patient is absolutely necessary to heal.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can try to find somebody in New York or maybe one of the Washington, D.C. speeches, but I don't think New York had a setup stage. They may have. When they did the first No Kings, I was in New York, and it was very interesting because the setup was a relatively small stage. It was really more about the march than it was about the stage. And so anyway, in Washington, it's really about the stage and about the speeches. But also about the crowd size, the amount of people who show up, the presence of huge crowds in each city, which in this particular example did happen. In DC, in Washington, D.C., there was some organizing with regard to some mass meeting tomorrow night. And I'll try to mention that on the next show, but it was unclear to me who the group was, but they sure as heck were. They were getting the word out because they were very centrally located, and people were hitting their QR code and everything else. This is L. Joy Williams, who's the president of the New York State NAACP, which she's quite good. I'm glad to say that I know her. Brooklyn in the house. I'll get to her in a second when she comes up. But what city is this? This is probably New York, right? Because this should be New York. Yeah. So at any rate, New York's rallies are massive, absolutely massive. And so the speaking part is almost like an afterthought in a lot of ways. I see Adam Mockler did he did the round robin debate thing today that Mehdi Hassan did. Yeah, he's an unbelievable debater. But anyway, yeah. So this No Kings rally is going down in history as one of the largest, if not the largest. It's already being reported that it is the largest, actually. People saying it, or I should say media saying that it is the largest, which would be incredible if it is. At any rate, I'm just waiting for L. Joy Williams to come up to the mic, and then I'll turn the sound back up on the speaker. This looks like, again, the New York No Kings rally, which typically, heads down to sort of starts at Midtown and goes down to Lower Manhattan. At least the first one did. That was hard to catch up with because it was just so many people. Could hardly tell what the beginning of it was when I was there, but the weather was perfect in Washington, D.C. I suspect the weather was great in New York as well. And that brings a heck of a lot of people out when the weather is nice. And anyway, here comes L. Joy Williams to the mic.
Yes, say it again. Thank you so much. All right, up next, we have a real treat, and we have L. Joy Williams, the president of the New York State NAACP.
No Kings! No Kings! I'm L. Joy Williams. I am president of the NAACP New York State Conference, and you will see our members all throughout all of the protests today because we have a history in this country of standing up against those who believe this country belongs to them and not us. We stand here today not as subjects begging a throne for mercy, but as the people declaring once again, we will not be ruled. This country has always wrestled with its desire for kings, people who want someone to save them or someone who uses fear to maintain power. But democracy does not need kings. It needs us, the people. It needs us to be courageous. These ordinary people who are gathered here today, not just us speaking, but the thousands who will be on the streets this afternoon, all across the country, as we declare no kings, no kings, want to remind you that there is not one single savior that is going to save us from Trump or his sycophants. It is going to be us, the people. It has always been us, the people, who use our power to build this country. Because Ella Baker taught us, strong people don't need strong, bullied leaders. We already have the power we need. We are using it today, and we will continue to use it not only to change who's in Congress, not only to change who's in the White House, but to change this democracy for the better. No kings! Every time we let fear or fatigue keep us quiet, we surrender ground that our ancestors bled to make sacred. So today, when we say no kings, we mean no one is above the law, no man is greater than the Constitution, and no title is higher than we, the people. This country belongs to us. This country belongs to us. To the people who get up every day and make it run, the nurses and the teachers, the transit workers, the organizers, the immigrants, and the Black people who've been making this democracy more perfect before we even had a voice. Democracy is not fragile because people protest. It's fragile when people stop using their voice. So today we march. We organize. Yes, we vote, but we agitate and litigate, not because we hate this country, but because we love it enough to demand that it lives up to its promise. The NAACP has fought many tyrants before, in every era, whether they lived in the White House, whether they lived in a governor's mansion, whether they were generals, whether they were at the NYPD. And every time it was the people. It was the people. We, the people. So, to Trump, I have no problem saying your name. To the sycophants who rallied behind him and put fear, rule this country by fear, and confuse leadership with domination. I want you to hear us clearly today. We, the people, are not your subjects. We will not be ruled. We, the people, run this country. We, the people, run this country. And to everyone gathered today and those who may watch this later, remember that democracy doesn't die in one day. It erodes when we give up, when we keep our voices silent, when we don't hit the streets, when we see something happening to our neighbors and we don't intervene. Democracy dies when we, the people, give up our power. We, the
Okay, let me see if I
from
can
Trump
find.
or his sycophants.
Let me see if I can find someone else just to wrap it up here. Yeah, let's wrap it up with Bernie Sanders. This is the Washington rally. And it's so funny when you're at the event, like you can't even figure out what's going on when you're at the event because you're in so many people and you're walking down the street taking photos and all this other stuff. And it's like actually hard to pay attention to the actual event. I got to go back and look at things later. And the first live feed I did today, Mehdi Hassan is actually in there already. So there's that. But at any rate, yeah. Let's just end it with Bernie. So Bernie Sanders was their final speaker in Washington, D.C. And massive rally. Again, it's now being called the largest in American history. We'll, I'm sure, be hearing more about that in the coming days in terms of that stat. And I'm sure that the Trump administration will be absolutely thrilled to be hearing that, right? They'll be absolutely thrilled.
Will rule. And today, Today, in the year 2025, in this dangerous moment in American history, our message is exactly the same. No, President Trump, we don't want you or any other king to rule us. Thank you very much, but we will maintain our democratic form of society. We will not move toward authoritarianism in America. We, the people, will rule. When he was sworn in as the nation's first president, George Washington called this attempt at self-government, quote, an experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people, end quote. My fellow Americans, in an unprecedented way, that experiment is now in danger. It is in danger when we have a president who wants more and more power in his own hands and in the hands of his fellow oligarchs. It is in danger when we have a president who claims that peaceful protests in Portland, Oregon, or Chicago, Illinois, is an insurrection and calls in the U.S. military, and then threatens to arrest the mayors and governors who resist them. It is in danger when we have masked agents working for ICE, breaking down doors, throwing people into vans without due process, and taking them to God knows where. It is in danger when we have a president who sues and intimidates the media, who wants no criticism of him and his policies, and who undermines the First Amendment of our Constitution, the very foundation of American democracy. Our country is in danger when we have a president who threatens to arrest or imprison political opponents who stand against him, including the Attorney General of New York State, a sitting U.S. Senator, and the Governor of California. It is in danger when we have a president who undermines freedom of thought and dissent at our colleges and universities, and who attacks law firms that oppose him in court. It is in danger when we have a president who threatens to impeach judges who rule against him. It is in danger when we have a president who ignores Congress, refuses to spend money that Congress appropriates, and takes away money from states who voted against him. It is in danger when we have a president who demands that states redraw congressional maps to ensure that his chosen candidates win future elections. It is in danger when we have a president who illegally fires tens of thousands of federal employees right here in Washington, D.C. and throughout our country, and rips up union contracts that workers have fought for and won. It is in danger when we have a president who grossly violates the Constitution by accepting gifts from foreign leaders, including a $400 million plane from the royal family of Qatar, and then allows that family to build an Air Force facility in Idaho.
It's incredible when you listen to somebody list all the stuff that has happened.
This moment is not just about one man's greed, one man's corruption, or one man's contempt for the Constitution. This is about a handful of the wealthiest people on earth who, in their insatiable greed, have hijacked our economy and our political system in order to enrich themselves at the expense of working families throughout this country.
Wow. Well, clearly we see why he was the kind of the keynote at the Washington No Kings rally. At any rate, that's a little bit of a wrap up of some of the bigger speakers today at what may become and may be named the biggest rally in American history. Again, that is amazing if that's the case. You know, I'll be back probably Monday night or Tuesday night. I'm doing a live feed on the next New York mayoral debate as certain people try to get Curtis Sliwa out of the race. At any rate, this is Lauren Burke. I've worked for 4 members of Congress and big media and small media, ABC News and USA Today, and I've got my own Substack, Black Virginia News. I'm extremely happy with that. And yeah, it was No King's Day. It was huge. It was historic, and it is likely to go down in history as one of the biggest moments, and maybe even somewhat of a turning point for those who are resisting the president. Although you don't really consider it that, because of course the president's party, he and his party are in control of everything in Washington. Anyway, this is Lauren Burke, and I'll see everybody very soon.